Oh. Oh no. Janet!
Oh my god, it's loose.
Run, Janet!
Abiotic Factor is a 2025 survival game developed by Deepfield Games and published by Playstack. It's set in 1993 and players assume the role of scientists stranded in a vast underground research facility in the Australian outback. Players must salvage furniture, collect office supplies and craft tools and build fortifications out of them, defending against paranormal containment breaches, all while travelling through portal worlds in an effort to escape to the surface through what is essentially the SCP Foundation. I know that's a bit of a mouthful. It looks exceptionally similar to Valve's Half-Life series, drawing heavily on the aesthetic and the secret lab elements, and is without a doubt the most fun I've had playing anything in 2025, so much I've completed it twice in short succession. The game is quite open in how you advance through each level, but there's a linear start and end point with tons of secrets to find along the way. I'll flag spoilers and have timestamped everything in the description, so let's dive in as we discover what makes this game so special.
Thanks for the num-nums, pal.
A suitably stocked fella driving a ute drives us through the Australian outback. We're a scientist of some sort determined by whichever background you choose on character creation. The surroundings are quiet and picturesque despite the game being so low poly, and the texture work and SFX do a lot of heavy lifting in making it quite a pretty game. We've transferred over to this specific gate site, Gate Cascade, and are instructed to enter the facility by security staff here. Putting on our PPE, we head towards induction, seeing the scenes of a busy research site unfolding around us, scientists milling along, whatever that giant alien is, and we begin our induction. The guy running it today is a bit unprepared.
I got pulled in from surface duty. The usual lady, she got called out to help downstairs. Happens. Chaos is kind of our thing around here. You seem a bit antsy. Just wait. I'll unlock the gate in a second.
We go through the basics of movement, crafting and building, eventually hearing grumbles that there's a situation topside, so we head to the elevator for residences to meet the illustrious Dr. Khan, who'll handle the rest of our induction. Unfortunately, there's a high priority security broadcast and we're redirected to the offices sector at the bottom of the site.
Advanced safety precautions are in effect. This elevator will be redirected to Offices Level 1.
This is where the game actually begins. Popping out of the elevator is just us and Dr. Fool, who laments that there's most likely nothing to worry about and that the fools on level 3 are just being a bit jumpy.
I came down from level 8 for a coffee. Now I'm locked in here for God knows how long. It'll be those fools on level 3 overreacting.
He gives us our first quote-unquote quest to say that Jaeger is locked out and we have to go to where he's pointing when the door's locked. Normally, you've got a nice star-spangled HUD here, but I've turned it off for the recording. To get to Jaeger, we have to do a bit of vent crawling, picking up odds and ends as we do. Unfortunately, we don't start with any sort of weapon, so when we come across our first enemy, the carbuncle, we just have to stomp on it like a log in the shower. We see the remains of some other alien here, and it's quite clear these fools on level 3 weren't overreacting, something's actually going on. As we lack a weapon to deal with the pest we encounter, we need to craft a net, subdue it, and then waffle stomp it again, following what we were shown in the tutorial. We basically strip the walls of everything not nailed down, and as a result of all our antics, we're one room over in the kitchen. It's better to get the jump on most things, as you'll see here. We pick up a kitchen knife and get rolling to Jaeger, discovering we'll need to craft an energy brick to open the door. The game, while being a survival FPS, is also a bit of a base builder, though you can really choose how much you engage with that side of it. The power systems of Cascade are universal, meaning wherever you find a plug in the wall, you can set up a crafting bench marking your next base. These plugs are literally everywhere, and the amount of shortcuts in this game mean you can quite easily get to all locations you've been to from most areas. Setting up here is what I'd recommend to any beginners. It's easily defendable and is close to many late game shortcuts. You're basically in the hub area. It's good to set up forward bases when you can, but it can be quite resource intensive and so it takes more time. With our first crafting bench powered, we set up some storage and make this energy brick, having to turn it from an idea into a recipe through a little minigame. You can turn that off in the settings if you wish. We plug the brick into the door and a peccary jumps out of the portal, flattening Jaeger and getting some licks in on us as we beat it down the table leg. At this point, you've access to most of the office sector and you're likely to run into a security guard as you leave that last room. He tells us there's a surface tunnel out of manufacturing, and so it's now up to us to work our way out of the offices to manufacturing and to that surface tunnel. Of course, that's easier said than done. We've 4 unseen antagonists working against us here: hunger, thirst, tiredness, and the station's power systems. Hunger's the easiest to deal with: raid vending machines, cut apart aliens and cook them, or later grow veggies and, well, other things. First, until later, we're stuck raiding water coolers, but you can take those home with you and I'd recommend it. Tiredness can be cured by having a little lay down on any of the various sofas around, or you can craft a bed later. But the power, well, at midnight it will shut off until the next morning, and security robots will patrol that we just simply aren't armed enough to fight yet. It's best we stay on the move here, scavenge, form a plan, and be quick about it. The door to the security wing is locked up, a wounded guard there complaining she locked everyone in, and that she saw death on the other side of the door. She's clearly in shock and won't be able to help us. We can't kill or loot her either. She claims she locked Death in with the rest of security, so backup isn't coming.
I locked it in with everyone else. Am I there too?
The place is crawling with aliens and test subjects that have escaped, and worse still, the door to manufacturing is locked up. We'll need to find a power cell to open that. And you can actually bandage this NPC who tells us this, and he's earned it by telling us to look on level 3. You're quite nicely funneled by these NPCs, but when you head to the elevator to level 3, you'll see it's not working, so we need to find an alternate route. Time was running short, so I decided to fortify my base, get a grill going, and take a little nap. Riveting stuff, I know. We can find our way to a research station on level 2 of the offices, where there's lovely ominous portals and a whiteboard instructing us to take some iodine before we jump in. I take a nosedive with my shield and spear, well, a big pipe club and a lunch tray, and we're transported to a rather colourful alien world. The Vortigaunt here isn't friendly, the Exor here isn't friendly, and you'll want to take him and his friend out and carve out their hearts for a lovely upgrade later. Throughout the facility, you'll see logs left by Derek Mance, the research director of Cascade. We found ourselves in Antiverse 2. Inside, energy works slightly differently. The evolution of these creatures doesn't really add up to Darwin's theories. Cascade does a lot of research on these antiverses. In fact, the portal tech is their big thing. But at this point in the game, their inhabitants are but a mystery. The back end of this garden section does have a portal up to level 3 of the offices though, which is where we might find those power cells.
It's not my fault. I work on power cells, not portals. They take them into Silo 3 and I never see them again.
There's a scientist hiding in the roof tiles you can find confirming they're here. The power cells are all within Silo 3, and of course Silo 3 is heavily locked up. You can speak to Alice Mayfield and she'll tell you need to craft a hacking device to get in, the components of which involve a lot of computer parts, so have fun smashing up all the desktops around here. And we'll need the CPUs from 3 security robots, which really we've not the strength or firepower to take head on just yet. The best way to take them out this early in the game is to find areas where there's exposed cabling or electrified puddles and just let them do the work for you. You're obviously free to craft a different solution, various traps you can spring, or try to take them in conventional combat with a shield, but why make life hard? I found the resource gathering in this game to be quite fun. It reminded me of the SCP story of the Infinite IKEA where they made the best of what little was strewn around, and you're constantly ferreting around these offices looking for new resources. There's a few different doors you can unlock once you've crafted your hacking pad. Obviously Silo 3 is where you're meant to head to, but you can check out a little firing range near the door to manufacturing to pack some heat on this expedition. When you do make it to Silo 3, you'll encounter our first antagonistic faction, the Order. Soldiers who have attacked Cascade to put a stop to our heretical portal tech, fearing we'd bring about an apocalypse. They're likely the reason things have gone tits up here. When you're ready, you can jump into the portal at Silo 3 in search of power cells, and here's where the game gets really cool. You enter the foggy streets of Flathill, a stark contrast to the offices we've been clambering through. A welcome change when you find food and seeds strewn about a grocery store. If you don't want any spoilers for Flathill, skip to the timestamp on screen. You have 3 seconds to do so. 3, 2, 1. Flathill, surprisingly, isn't just a Silent Hill ripoff. The fog is under investigation, but the creatures that live here, well, take a look. There's one NPC here dressed to mimic one of the giants, and he's seemingly a bit unhinged.
You are trapped here, but shut down the devices. Your devices. Remove the power cells. 1, 2, 3. You'll have your way out. But what then? When you've opened your door, what then? Eh?
Marion tells us if we can disable all the gate devices here, we can get back out. Of course, these devices work to keep Flathill contained, so it might cause some chaos later. The giants, while unnerving, can be snuck around quite easily. There's a few moments where you might want to dive for cover if they spot you, as it's revealed you can't actually damage them. There's some creatures in this game you just can't fight. One of the funnest reveals is when you discover the giants can actually interact with various hiding spots, and I've seen a few clips floating around of people screaming when that happens. It amazed me just how many places they could follow you through too. Flathill basically consists of a few mazes with us playing cat and mouse, avoiding the composers as they've been formally named. Each maze getting tighter around us, with the composers getting closer and closer. There's no other aliens here until much later in the game. The fun thing about portal worlds such as this one and the Exor one from earlier is all the resources we pick up will respawn after so many days, meaning you could come back for more nachos or fuel cells later. It's a fun mechanic making them mini resource hubs, and they always give you some sort of buff for going through them as well. You want to grab one of the paper stands too from here for later, just trust me on that one. The composers are a part of the fog, a bit like Stephen King's The Mist. Mance's audio log here states they'd set up a formal operating base as a part of Portal research, that Flathill was somehow more powerful, condensing the energy needed to run portals. Seemingly something went wrong to bring the Mist here. There's no other experiments we can find here, just regrets. Avoid getting grabbed, get your cells, and get out to the offices to see Janet and Abe, the best scientists in the game. They tried to escape through Flathill, but when the composers were let loose, things got a bit chaotic. They herd us to manufacturing, and you can keep talking to them for some fun voice lines.
The fog is coming. Janet, what are we going to do?
We're going to head through manufacturing, then take the surface tunnel out of here. When you're ready, Abe. So, just try to calm down.
Manufacturing? It's huge. We'll never make it. I'm 83% sure we're doomed.
I told you, it's gonna get worse before it gets better.
For manufacturing, you want to head in by slapping a power cell on that forklift from earlier, and get ready for a run-in with the Order and a step up in difficulty. If you remember Half-Life, there was a point in the game soldiers became prevalent and tried to hand your ass to you. This is that moment. The aliens kicked the door in and the NRA followed them. A scientist inside will tell us this in shorter words than me, and tells us to find the blacksmith, someone at the forge. You obviously get a lovely peek at the soldiers before running face first in. All that banging you hear in the background is, you guessed it, full auto fire. There's a crossroad here where they're distracted by a crane operator. If you've a death wish, you can try to assault them head on, or you can do the smart thing and sneak around it, push towards the blacksmith. Pretty much as soon as I'd got the first shortcut to the offices open, a text pop-up told me the air feels strange and to be on guard tonight. It's a fun time to mention, you can get raided on certain nights with enemies gated by your progress through the game. You might also encounter the co-worker during your first nights, who's good fun.
You know what they say, buy low, sell high.
I was hoping we wouldn't get an Order raid given how rough and tumble the first fight was, and you'll see it here. I push forward, collecting our new resources and meeting with the blacksmith before this all kicks off. He tells us to upgrade our hacking tool to advance through manufacturing, which will become the loop for most areas. Luckily, you can also use the tram system at this point, and there's a direct shortcut from the blacksmith to the office hub, another reason to set up in the offices. You'll notice the game is constantly evolving, and when you go back, more enemies are in the offices that shouldn't be here, including an Order rat. There's two things I'd recommend doing constantly, and that's going back to old areas and checking for new enemies once you find new plot beats, and crafting any new recipe you might find, because it could give you a subsequent recipe later on. The rat here drops a new melee weapon for us, for instance. Here's a scanner, which is just too broken to scan anything, but heavy enough to knock teeth loose. When I get back, the raid finally came, and it was pretty bad on the RNG. Portals opened up all around my base, and this then spat out various gribblies within my walls. You can upgrade your crafting bench to block portals later, and depending when they spawn, they could just be a lovely shipment of fresh meat. I did tame one of the pests here too, using my nachos, and called him Schrodinger, because he's pretty much a cat. Back to manufacturing. To get the new hacking tool, we need a hell of a lot of military electronics. These are dropped by these little radio things and various Order soldiers you'll see around. I made a special hammer to take out the soldiers. Manufacturing is basically fully occupied by them, and it becomes an almost pseudo-stealth section where you really don't want to bite off more than you can chew here. Mance has a note on the Exors, the bipeds, that they originate from Antiverse 2 as you've seen, and have some sort of symbiotic relationship with the peccaries and pests we see around. You'll get the deep dive on them later on. Collect your gubbins, smash some skulls, and head back to the blacksmith. A path near him leads to the nearby mines, which we'll have to brush against to get to the surface tunnel. A few antiverses seem to be leaking into the mines with antiverse wheat, gaseous growths, and various creatures you can find here. There's a few alternate routes to get to the tunnel, but this is the one I took. The ascent of the tunnel, seemingly abandoned bar one NPC sat resting, and he's got an interesting voice.
Do not shoot! Do not shoot! We came here to cleanse and protect, but this chaos is beyond our capacity to suppress. We are beset by demons from the depths of the mines, and that termagant freak has holed herself up in the processing plant.
High Inquisitor Hasta Tria, brought here by the portal activity they came to cleanse and suppress, as they put it. But they were attacked by demons from the mines. Their sappers blew the tunnel to the surface we need to get out of, and he believes that a gate employee, Frake, is hiding another escape route. Heading to her, she signals for us to not get shot.
They're with the research division, don't shoot!
And tells us if we overload the Synchnotron, a big sciencey machine, it will cause a black hole small enough for us to clear a path to another sector. We need to get a few parts in the blacksmith to repair pumps around manufacturing, including heading through a new portal world to get said resources. Mance's logs nearby hint at an IS-091, which we'll encounter soon too.
Preliminary note on IS-091. At this point, details are inconclusive. We've dispatched a research team to Indonesia to gather field data, with a view to bringing in a trans-recon unit and possible gatekeeper support for capture, should it come to that.
Before we start gathering, it might be a good time for us to talk about ISs. The Immurement Registry is a list of things with unnatural properties compiled by Gate. Think of it as SCPs. Any curio added to the list is given an IS number and a containment category from Ordo, which is benign, to Salutus, which is uncontainable. Again, if you've read any SCP protocols, you've seen this before. The giants from Flathill, for instance, are IS-0064 and are classed as Crucius, or high risk. We'll be dealing with a lot more ISs as we advance, and really, they're what Gate was made to study and contain. Before we head to a nearby Portal 2, there's a lovely spot above the blacksmith that I believe is completely immune to raids besides Portal ones. It's one of a select few areas I recommend besides the office start to set up a base. I'll point out the next area later when you see it. If you've played the game and have a favourite base spot, let me know in the comments, share it with the class. But otherwise, we're going to take the forklift, and yes, you can drive in this game, and come to this tram station once you've unlocked your way through the mines. Inside, we'll find something special. Besides more goons to smack, there's a portal that you can skip if you want to go to this timestamp on the screen. 3, 2, 1. Otherwise, choo choo, we're on an infinite train track. A scientist refuses to let it stop. The antiverse itself is tied to it and will go boom if the train ever stops moving. You can't kill this scientist to stop it yourself either, which I did try. The train is actually quite a short jaunt. I mean, you can see it all from the first outdoor section. Inside is a variety of new resources that hog inventory space, and a few Order grunts who have set up barricades at choke points you'll need to blast through. If you die in a portal world, you can respawn at the start, so it's not too rough if you get killed here. We collect pocket watches, suitcases, and batteries, and we'll be able to make a variety of new items. Chargers you can plug into walls, but most importantly, solder, which you cook like a soup using a pot on a stove, and we'll trade that to the blacksmith later. The train is a memorable antiverse, regardless of how short it is. You'll find one of the crystal creatures from the mines on top of it too. Hopping out grants us a speed boost for a short while, thanks to this portal world. Choo choo. To condense on time, we then trade a load of resources to the blacksmith and repair 3 electron pumps, which you'll find around manufacturing. We then go and press their particle accelerator.
I have to admit, you surprised me. I had to come and see this for myself. You gonna do the honors? Oh my god!
Resulting in a black hole getting just a tad too close for comfort. It reveals our way to the labs, which is where all the fun stuff is under lock and key.
There's your exit! Nothing a micro black hole couldn't take care of!
On the outskirts of labs, we'll see Janet and Abe again, this time experimenting on a pest full of capacitors and the like. These look fun.
Interesting.
Mantis audio logs reveal the portal worlds were once stabilised by a unit called the Dark Lens, or at least the portals themselves. In theory, one could use it to open new portals and control where those portals go. It's likely how they managed to get portals going that we saw before. The labs are home to a new enemy, well, enemy/environmental hazard, the Layak. There's warnings posted around and it's clear the thing jumped containment. For a lack of a better descriptor, it looks like a flying clitoris, a transcorporeal entity invulnerable to physical deterrence following a single viewer at any given time. If you're playing multiplayer, only one of you will be hounded at one time. Basically, it's going to fly at you and you need to trigger its social anxiety to make it disappear. It can appear at any time and anywhere, making it a bit of a nuisance, but perhaps later we can find some way of weaponizing something against it. At this point, head deeper into the labs. Perhaps there's a way out if we go deeper in. We are slowly but surely making our way up floor by floor through the facility. An order console will tell us they stole the Dark Lens, or at least attempted to, and that's probably what destabilised all the portals and caused the aliens to get spat out all around the place. This single event has caused all the calamity we've seen so far. Dr. Fuel has followed us through and tells us he was planning on escaping through security, but well, when you look at the door it's covered in alien growths. We'll need to find something in containment to get rid of it. Of course, this is much easier said than done. All the doors are locked up tight, some with another hacking tier needed, and this area will be your next step up in difficulty. Abe and Janet will tell us the new plan is to get into containment, but unfortunately we'll need a new hacking device as previously mentioned. The main loop of progression in this game: explore for new resources, craft a key, rinse, repeat, as you've seen here. New enemies are prevalent in each new zone. One of the things we'll need, for instance, is a new type of CPU from upgraded robots. Another, the capacitors in those zappy pests. There is a direct shortcut we can open from the labs to the offices, again making getting back and forth much easier. Marion at this point will have left Flathill too to become a trader. One of the new fun things we can craft is this electro thrower. I won't play the audio as it's a bit tedious, but it trivialises the robots as you'll see here. Good thing too, as the ones in the labs are a lot faster and a lot tankier. I counted a total of 40 seconds of continuous fire to take this one down, and there's no cheesy electro spots to help in the labs either. Alongside this, we encounter upgraded Exors that just hurt my soul to fight, and really stealth becomes a lot more mandatory as we progress here, but also deeper in the game. The weapons you can make are quite impactful, but really we're squirreling around here to get into containment before the plot starts moving again. The crafting options and, well, builds for armour and the like do open up quite significantly, but it'd be a different kind of video if I started just doing a tier list of my shopping list. Making the hacking tool for the labs, you can head through a magical yellow paint room. And as we've seen with many late noughties video games, yellow paint always signifies the way forward. In this game, it's also sentient and classed as a IS. It will lead away into the containment block Dirac, where some containment cells are open. We can actually go into them. This antique shotgun calls for me to pick it up, IS 0099. This moon cube does too, and when I hold it, gravity becomes my plaything. In the depths of the containment block, we can see one of the scientists has gotten himself locked inside a cell. He was actually the guy we were meant to go to for our induction, so I guess things have worked out really, and he seems lovely, totally normal and not suspect at all.
2 PhDs, but you'd never know it. I'd very much prefer not to rot here, so if you could help me out, I'd be extremely grateful. And I can help. You see, I'm confident that I can get us through the vacuum chamber to the surface elevator. In fact, I'm sure of it. If you could just get this door open.
We need to get to the containment control center to let him out and stop the turrets from shredding us that are around the place. Dr. Khan, top NPC. One route is blocked by turrets here, and if we use our cube or build a bridge, we can actually just go around them to reach the other side of this gap here. We do some vent crawling, and it turns out we've got another problem in the containment block, as there's literal zombies here, a side effect of the A16 viral program. While I never experienced it firsthand, they can infect you if they grab you, so don't let them get bitey. Opening the door to Heimholtz, we unleash the zombie plague into the rest of the facility. Taking our boomstick and making these zombies like the Pope, we can open a portal to the Antiverse 23. Skip to this timestamp if you don't want to know what's in there. 3, 2, 1. Through the portal, we enter a furniture store. It's part portal world and part puzzle. It's very Walking Dead, and the game started to feel like 3D Project Zomboid here. In fact, a full conversion mod would turn this game into an exceptional proxy of Zomboid, given all the survival mechanics are just right here. There's also a weird Christmas thing going on. Now there's several buttons around to activate an elevator out. The more buttons you press, the more zombies break in, so you can either pre-map your route or just go guns blazing as God intended. The furniture store with its respawning furniture is great to revisit if you want a lovely Moe base. If you're just making one trip through, make sure to grab this sword right here, you'll want it later. I'm not going to tell you why, and the whole reason we go through this portal world is to hop out near Containment Central Control. This is where we learn about herding the Layak to actually advance. The Layak is sensitive to X-rays, and when you find its containment, you'll get the recipe to make an X-ray tower, which if the creature's exposed to, it will drop its essence and disappear. You can turn that tower into a handheld variant too, as you're likely to encounter it everywhere, even when you're not at your base. You can also fish for its essence, or grow a greyhead plant which will make it spawn more aggressively. Either way, you've got time to kill while you farm this essence, so maybe take a look around the labs. There's a few different exhibits in Containment. A Flathill giant, a stupid table made from absolute garbage that really grinds my gears, and even a guillotine that will reset all your skills and traits. When you're finally sick of seeing the Layak, you have a lot of fun being stalked by it as you walk back to Containment. Slap in the ASMR essence, and then you have to avoid armed goons and deathly turrets as you sneak to Central Control, the yellow paint being your new best friend here. At one point, the Layak just refused to despawn right as I was trying to sneak past an LMG mount, and genuinely, this thing chased me forever and nearly made me bleed out when it didn't leave. Once you've reset the turrets to shoot anything but yourself, Khan then teleports behind us and tells us our next step is clearing the security door. To do such, we need to head through the Mycofields portal.
You reset the system and turned the guns on those apes. Bravo! We may yet get out of here with our skins. Now, we just need to get that odious gunk off the vacuum chamber door. But this isn't the first time we've had this problem.
I get ambushed by a fog weather event here too. There's weather events. There's a few different ones, and it will become obvious where you need to go back to turn them off. They do go by their own after some time. I wasn't running back to Flathill to turn this one off. Silly mistake, my dudes. The fog, well, it turns out there's new creatures that live in it. Terrifying creatures. Yuck, like what even is that thing? I was ready to nope out when it started making copies of itself until I realised you can actually use the auto turrets against it to shocking effect. The Mycofields portal needs a little juice to get running, and we happen to get that juice from a boss monster, the Tarask, where its blood is so potent it's basically a nuclear reactor on legs. It's an absolute bullet sponge of a creature, needing you to tickle its nips to reveal its weak spot. This thing can take a whole mountain of bullets too. Melee really just isn't recommended. I like to jam it against this door here. The Tarask is actually microscopic in its home universe, like a tardigrade, but becomes giant in ours. Use some of its ichor to turn on the fungus portal and bring thermal protection or you'll fry yourself like a Walker's crisp. The Mycofields don't get a spoiler warning, as it's just a run through various mushroomy Exor to collect antiverse gel to make anti-thermite. Everything wants to kill you, except the little gribblies you have to sneak up on to get carapace pieces. Don't try swimming in the Phantom River, have fun hopping around on mushroom platforms, and get the plant rope seeds and forget to grow them, then make the anti-thermite, slap it on the door, and you can come to my favourite area, security. The outskirts of security are an irradiated runoff, and a witch of some kind tells us we need to halt our advance.
You have come far, but you will halt here, before the darkness, the water, the nexus, and egress, perhaps.
She's surrounded by ordered corpses, so she's likely not with them, either an IS or the thing the security clerk described as death from earlier. We immediately discredit her advice and sneak our way in security, being a completely blacked out area with Dr. Khan here to ominously tell us there's eldritch abominations in the universe and likely one in security. Our lights flicker here even without any seismic activity, and there's no corpses around. It becomes an eerie, quiet horror section. You can open the door to the offices locked earlier, but really you're wanting to delve in deeper to this abandoned sector. It comprises a big semicircle with an access tunnel locked at various stages, ramping up access-wise each step. The fun part of security probably comes once you've had enough time to acclimatise to the silence. Our next IS. Blood stains the tunnels as you go inside the derelict security offices searching for a way to open the next access tunnel gate, only to be met by a console covered in black ichor, the sound of a portal opening, and a creature stomping through it. The eldritch abomination the doctor was talking about, and the thing the security clerk described as death. This thing is entirely immune to your weaponry, and running from it into the portal takes you to the Shadow Realm.
It's time to
The only denizens are ichor-covered wraiths that don't really say much, a night essence we can grab, and a mysterious floating orb to smash. Smashing these orbs will remove ichor near the portal you came in from, so now you have a fun cat and mouse game, avoiding the literal Grim Reaper, entirely impervious to conventional weapons, and if he grabs you, he'll take you to his dimension. There's a few interactions that you can have with him. The X-ray handheld will cause it to drop night essence, but won't make it disappear, and there's an exposed laser here that hints the high energy photons do hurt it in some way. They also make it super aggressive and likely to kill you, but can ward the beast off if you're lucky. We'll get laser weapons later that have a similar effect. Cue the scuttling around, collecting new resources to make a new hacker section. Only this time you're constantly on the lookout for our robed friend. It's a very fun horror section, and the horror sections in this game are done very well. You'll come to realise that to make the hacker you need a resource not found in security, a lodestone fragment, and if you've been keen-eyed in the labs, you'll realise you now have the resources to open a new portal back there, specifically a vine seed and this night essence. You'll also notice with the evolving environment that the zombies of jumped containment are in the labs now. Dr. Lenora Riggs describes this next portal world as similar to Earth. If you don't want the portal world spoiled, go to this timestamp. Otherwise, 3, 2, 1. Canaan is a very dark version of Earth. Specifically, the place looks like you just fell into the 1600s, with a guard accusing us of witchcraft and a dude here. Did that tree just move? The eyeless locals don't seem to be very friendly, having helped our colleague with his spinal pressure. I doubt we'll find many friends here. Canaan isn't nice at all actually, and we don't really have an easy way back as there's no portal at the start. The trees themselves are even lethal as we've seen. It's a very cool spot that I would have probably slapped a base in if I ever bothered with teleporters. What we need to do is explore here, and it's a rather large open portal world with multiple routes throughout it. The folk here have a variety of farm tools to fill us in with as well. Some guards even having crossbows, and when this church bell rings, everyone leaves their homes to come and attack you. Their religion is the path of Patre. Patre? Either way, the diaries of the pastor strewn about tell a little story. He'd moved his people here to escape a dark entity, seemingly crossing worlds to do it. They traded silver with outsiders while they set their commune up, but preferred to keep contact with these outsiders to a minimum. They hadn't originally had religion, or not the same religion they have now. The rat we saw at the surface tunnel, well, an inquisitor who came before him, had told them of the Order's credo, and they drank the Kool-Aid, stealing a lodestone from him and using it for their own ends. Lodestones seem to attract portal gateways, and so we need to best relieve the priest of his before he does anything bad with it. We scuttle through their silver mines and then into their swamp where things have this pooey sepia tone. A few things to find in here are a poppet right at the start and a tree with a mask on you can craft to stop the trees hurting you. It forms part of an armor set that heals bleeding too, and I'd honestly advise just running past the bogman to get it. You'll find a witch of the swamp who's actually one of our colleagues who'd found the lodestone, and well,
the lodestone, they call it, but the locals disapproved of our curiosity toward their holy artifact. They slaughtered Dr. Jessup, burned Dr. Mitter, and took our portal gear. I can't even get a signal, so those Luddites have clearly damaged it.
We'll be using it to repair the portal gear here. Problem is, we need to smash it open first at an anvil in town. It's a fun place to explore. We interrupt the priest giving his big sermon about the world being evil and people being evil, and we take his flock and then pepper him with bolts. The lodestone we'd smashed gives us several pieces, so we'll use one to get out of here and another to actually hack our way through security. Then we do some jumping around to open our last door. In the meantime, I'd crafted a handy energy pistol that runs off charge rather than bullets, and recharged it awkwardly while I spoke to Dr. Khan, ruining the clip for the recording.
Got bigger fish to fry.
He tells us we need to go through the Hydroplant, then residences to get to the surface. To get into Hydro, we'll have to flood somewhere else. Hydro is possibly the second hardest area in the game, which makes sense. The Order have camped up here and, well...
Hey, it's not safe out here. The place is totally overrun. We got sent down to hold the line, but they pushed us back. There's goddamn snipers everywhere.
Onto Hydro. The Hydroplant answers the question of how do we follow up outrunning the Grim Reaper with how do we outrun a 50 cal. When we answer that, they then ask if we can dodge 12 gauge, and the study reaches its conclusion. The utter shithousery of running out of a sniper's field of view to then have to dodge 3 order soldiers with shotguns while I'm still holding a lunch tray for a shield is not lost on me. Especially after a guard had just warned me about this. We're meant to find some of the scientists who'd hunkered down here, Eleanor and Isaiah, and have come up with a harebrained scheme.
We need to get down to Reactors. With the dark lens gone, it's the only working portal equipment in the facility. A way out. So what if we opened the spillway? All that water ends up in one place. Reactors.
The room they're in seems relatively safe by design, and I did make a little ramshackle base here. This is the third place I'd recommend. What they want us to do is again go on gathering more resources, this time from all the power equipment here, so you guessed it, make another hacking device to scuttle around the place. As with Canaan before it, this area is stupidly open, adding a ton of verticality to itself too. Plenty of short spots to get got in. They even just sprinkle in one of the Flathill giants here of all things. The place is a total mess. You need to reach some residences and hit a switch, a station in the middle of the water and hit a switch, and a third one in the corner, so you'll be going around this whole area more than once. Janet and Abe also show up here too, only this time in a submarine. As we're in a giant cavern, it seems fairly clear they're not going anywhere in it, and even if the thing could run, it's out of juice and they can't pilot it. I'm going to squash the 3 steps here into a tight little bundle. Run your way to the leisure quarters here, making sure to avoid the tier 3 robots that shoot rockets and grenades at you to speak to Dr. Hoff. He will give you the recipe for diving equipment so you don't drown trying to get to the far station. Before you go there, there's a secret underwater tunnel in a vent near Janet and Abe you'll want to swim through to find the coolest NPC, Kylie Muir.
You're part of the research team. I'm sorry. I can't see much at all now.
No, not because she's just a floating brain in a jar, and I empathise with that. Because she's aware of what's happened so far, and if you bring a computer chip back to her, she'll join you as a pocket companion. Dr. Wakeman was meant to put her in a new body, but we'll do that ourselves later. Mance's notes show concern for Dr. Wakeman and his use of IS-0142, the mechanical plant growths in the area, using them in his robotics. With our diving suit, we can swim across the zone to the far station and take some underwater pipes through there. You'll get photon receptors in this area that are used in a variety of technologies, but more importantly, you'll find a portal world hidden at the top. Hopping in, you'll come to realise the environment can kick your ass too, having to come back with some cold resistant gear to insulate you. Bossoir also does not get a spoiler warning. We're in a seemingly French gate station, which has some snowy variants of Order goons here. Luckily their frost gear seems to make them blind. They drop very nice gear indeed, backpacks with higher capacity, and even gloves that will let you use the soldiers' guns. You can craft gloves that do the same thing, using a ton of chopped off arms if you've got the time, but this just skips that step entirely, and guns will be very useful later. Hell, they're useful now if I had the bullets to rub together. Bossoir Station is here to observe one particular IS, and we'll get to him later. The real reason we're here is for a special piece of photon tech used in a million crafting recipes later. Scuttle your way through, stealth being your best friend if you don't want to end up like a pincushion, as you see a lovely ski resort unfold around you. Then fail stealth and be forced to take a zipline down into the mountains as you discover the IS they're looking for is none other than the abominable snowman, the Yeti. As I was literally dying from hunger here, I didn't bother trying to fight it, but it does drop some nice materials. Instead, I used my handy dandy teleporter to get home, dying of hunger as I got to my fridge. You'll see I managed to grow a ton of stuff and put some upgrades in place, more barriers, charging points. You can actually set up defensive turrets, and I'd recommend it if you weren't speedrunning for a YouTube video here. The base building's super charming. Once you take the trams back to Hydro, there are 2 buttons to press now, and I'd fully recommend taking out some robots before you do. Their weak spot is the box on their back, and they drop some bits for juicy weapons later. One button is up high, and we need to use the fancy laser tech to stop radiation blocking a signal. Another is down low, where you'll have to avoid steroid-infused Exors that have learned how to throw grenades at you. When all's said and done, you can return to Janet and Abe to discover you've turned on the spillway, which will take us directly to Reactors. The witch from earlier is here too. And she basically tells us the safety is off moving forward.
The moment arrives. The way is open. Proceed, but know you tread into the sight of fate. All that will be is decided.
The way deeper into Reactors has been tended to by the Hydrobot. You can bring Kylie to him to unlock her voice module. We'll need to hop into a new portal world to get past, and this one does get a warning, so hop to this timestamp if you wish. 3, 2, 1.
But I have adapted to this change. I hope you are pleased.
The Exor Village is something alright, a portal straight into agony. The purple water around us is actually doubly better than normal water, so you can collect that and bring it home if you wish. Just like the creatures here are also doubly strong, and I wouldn't take those home. We're after a fungicide here, RuneScape style, and it's being protected by a silly amount of Exors and their kin. The fun ones here have spears and are arguably harder to take out even than those tier 3 robots we saw before. I'm genuinely curious if anyone had an easier time here than me, but it was absolute agony. You grab your fungicide from the centre of their village and then desperately try to maintain your sanity going to speak to their chief. Abandon all notions and just tap him, missing all the cool dialogue as you run to exit the place.
You have chosen.
Realising he was about to tell you that we've been seen by something we shouldn't have. I didn't edit that in, and I didn't like staring at it either. Reactors are going to quite easily be the hardest and longest area in the whole game. Mant's informing us what we can expect moving ahead. The gatekeepers, the eccentric super soldiers sent in when all else fails. Mance dislikes them for their use of magic, and I really dislike them for calling me control group right before I immediately explode. Khan tells us they were using a waygate to get in and get out and had come in to fight the Order. They turned it off to stop anyone else using it, but if we can turn it on, and to do that we have to turn on 4 reactors, we can get it back online and maybe get out of here. Activate the shortcut to the offices and prepare for some Jimmy rustling. As just mentioned, the reactors consist of 4 different reactors, each with their own theming, and the area as a whole is under tight security by the gatekeepers who we've yet to meet. The areas out of their control are full of Order troops and Exor trash, though there is a funny voice log from Mance about the caliber of people we're about to go against.
Dr. Derek Mance reporting, Research Director. One of the gatekeeper mystagogues made a request to my department today. At first I could not understand a word it was saying, until I realized they were incanting something. Slowly, the words, "Deliver us weapons," appeared on the wall behind me. Written, I later realized, in blood. Could someone not show these animals how to use the email system?
I also wanted to show you grenades before I carry on here. We're about to enter Dusk Reactor first, under the direction of Khan, and the place is a bit spoopy to say the least. Blood writing on the walls, and what can only be described as a Caribbean tech marine floating around the foyer area. This is just one gatekeeper of many, and he's a bit of a handful. You might stupidly think he's a boss with his little mook drone and ability to throw grape Kool-Aid fire everywhere, but no, he's just the welcome party. Take his skull, you'll want it later. Dusk Reactor isn't actually that bad. There's some semi-forced combat here as you need the resources the enemies drop, and you'll probably be lagging behind them tech-wise until you get those resources. Sneak your way around the top of this foyer, spotting now there are a ton of Tom Clancy gatekeepers, radioactive pests, and irradiated Exors who will be an absolute nightmare later on. The gatekeeper neophytes basically replace Order grunts here, but have actual energy shields and are likely more trouble than they're worth to kill just yet. Mance does reveal something super useful. The Exor are sentient, given the village they set up. We kind of knew that. That's not the reveal. This is.
There is no escaping the fact. The Exor, the pest, the peccary, none of them are native to the worlds we're finding them on. Something brought them here. The crux is the monument at the center of their settlement. Not a structure, but a weapon.
I'm betting $5 dingo on that weird eye beast we saw before. Once you actually get into Dusk Reactor's reactor, you can see something cool, a behemoth. When we fought the Tarask earlier, it was staring down at this very room, yearning like a Regency-era count for his large monstrous bride. Killing her isn't actually mandatory, and so I didn't here. Instead, I got out of Reactors to see the one and only Dr. Khan again, ready to share his sage wisdom as he's done all game now.
Well done, my terrifically tattered mammalian friend. I continue to be impressed with your acumen and daring-do.
He informs us that there's a central fusion reactor powering the Waygate. We'll need to activate the other 3 reactors to get that running. Likewise, he starts to reveal his fishiness, trying to convince us he hasn't just been teleporting. You can see some gatekeepers here who don't immediately shoot at us, and it's the witch from earlier and her special forces friends who seemingly know we're a good guy, or they just know we can't take them. Either way, they're quite chatty.
Yes, we have heard that music and dance no further, but for you the dance remains. So let its silent sound move you, and waste no time wondering.
Craft some laser weapons and head on over to our next reactor, Cloud Reactor. Cahill here is telling us that switching the reactors off caused them to break, and he's also plugging the gap with his bare fingers. When we head inside the place, it looks like a large outdoor area, despite us being stuck in a rocky cavern. It's a little bit like Hydro in that manner. Cloud Reactor's gimmick is that it's swarming with gatekeepers. In fact, it's stupidly full of guys with guns. Like, your first few steps will have 2 robots firing rockets at you while a Jotun aura farms. Sneak your way up to the top of this area and you'll discover that stealth is really your friend here, as the enemies can be quite blind when they want to be. As you'll spot here, there's not only a sniper that can take pot shots at you once you get far enough, but a mounted LMG just waiting for you to peek out at it. From my limited experience, it's best to sneak around fully, taking out the LMG, then the sniper, then you can actually access the reactor. All the reactors need you to fix something by putting a new super alloy in their fission spots. You craft this from parts dropped by all the new enemies, including the juiced up Exors. You'll use that alloy to craft pretty much every new technology too from now on, so stock up while you can. Swim through the McDonald's Sprite and you're free to head to our last 2 reactors. Some are much easier to get to than others. At this point, you may even craft jetpacks, which do make me ever so happy. I've heard some people say long jump packs are better, but I never actually made use of one, so I don't know. Mist Reactor looks like the reactor entrance is being overrun with alien vegetation and a variety of Exor type enemies. If Cloud Reactor was the Gatekeeper Reactor, this is the Exor one. Alongside a few frightening clusters of enemies, you'll find a tier 4 corrupted robot. They've got flamethrowers and they really suck to be hit by. They don't have the weak spots of the tier 3s either and try to bait you out pretending to be turned off. So you can see this mad dash of me just going full anime on it with my katana. You don't have to farm these bots so aggressively as the others, and thank God too, as they're a nightmare. Abe and Janet are hiding out in this reactor with their little pet pest, and they're hiding out just like us. Abe reveals some lore that in the reactors, they were put together, their sole purpose is just to provide enough energy for the portal research. In the past, they had to turn off every light in the facility just to get one portal going.
Other than that, it's lovely.
I'd almost forgotten this place was down here, Janet. You remember when they did the first perforation test in power services after Flathill? It took so much power they made us turn off every light and half the equipment in the facility.
Get jump scared by this Exor, slap in the fuel cells, and then you're off to Gale Reactor. Gale Reactor is essentially the Order Reactor, but they've just not had their power boost yet, so they include a load of gatekeepers to keep it difficult. Then the gatekeepers steal the show. It's built over a reservoir with a horrid shark swimming beneath. You can entirely avoid that section of the reactor. Running through to the reactor controls, we need to press a series of buttons and survive various waves of gatekeepers. Some parts of this giant atrium are better than others for this, and I found it rather enjoyable both times I did it. While the turrets are going off, we hear Mance talk of the dangers of IS-012, a charismatic creature that nearly talked its way out of containment. Doesn't sound like anyone we know. Apparently it's dangerous enough the gatekeepers should be called if it even speaks to someone new. Fight through the waves of human-shaped meat and then realise they're so strong that even with gun turret assistance, you've got plenty of time to explore. Set up a little FOB to charge your laser weapons, touch base with the engineer from earlier.
Reminds me of the time the GKs wiped out that horde from Antiverse 83.
Funnily enough, our friend from security actually comes to help us out when we press a button with the Night Realm motif. This is never really explained though. I imagine you press the button he's meant to attack you, but he's hostile to everything here. Either way, with the last waves dead, we've turned on all the reactors and we can push into the final few areas of the game. It's nearly at its conclusion. Do we escape? What's Khan's deal? Does Fuel ever get coffee for his coffee hole? Let's find out, folks. In the final area of reactors, it's devoid of enemies, with Hill telling us that we can't advance until we deal with a slight electrical mishap in the substation. By this point, you have a jetpack and you can simply cheese the jumping puzzle, as you hear from Mance about the Shadowgate facility. the Gatekeeper's compound that's operating without managerial oversight. They've got an IS kept there, and Mance has yet to even receive an IS number for it. It's time to dive in, and if you don't want to know about Shadowgate, you're actually going to miss on 2 portal worlds as they daisy chain together. So skip to this timestamp. 3, 2, 1. Shadowgate is a very fitting name for what we see on the other side of the portal. Khan has somehow beat us here and knows the true name of this realm, Intrados. It's a containment facility ran by the heavy gunners, and the whole place is surrounded by a giant containment field, which Khan is rather ropey about.
It would appear they've surrounded these woods with some kind of containment field. I wonder if that's related to... Friend?
You'll need to sneak around the woods to uncover how to actually take shields down before we can get inside. The woods being full of witches, similar to the Sister of the Lost, but these have a combination of shields and jetpacks and shotguns to make your life so difficult. Their safari hats don't make good armor though, so target your strikes for headshots. Killing one will show you the recipe for a null grenade, of which you'll need to craft 7 to complete this area, so do that ahead of time. Sneak around the mounted LMG stations and be very careful not to aggro the ton of gatekeepers and witches stalking the compound. You simply won't be able to take them head on, even on multiplayer it's a real stretch. Once you're inside, you have to take a crack at a second shield, and it becomes clear something ghastly is locked up in here, otherwise why would they bother with such theatrics? Climb some stairs to see possibly the worst thing they could have had contained, the creature that spotted us from before. Khan has somehow snuck in too and tells us why they have this thing here.
Believe this, I'm speechless. The Gatekeepers. They're trying to bring this thing into our world to harness its power for, well, only the gods know what.
There's various machines hidden behind shields, so you'll need to take those out to free this creature. It sounds like a very harebrained scheme, right? Why are we freeing this thing? I don't really know why we do it besides not letting the baddies keep a hold of it. I blame Khan for being a bad influence. You'll be dumping a lot of laser fire into grunts here as you go shield by shield, but eventually you'll cause the creature to retreat back through a portal, and the only way forward is to follow it into Antiverse 2. You actually see the first Antiverse 2 section below. The strangest part here is there is a new gold portal at the end, and can you guess where we are once we go through this ornate facility? You got it!
Wait, Promethean, do not attack. Our paths converge once more. By some fathomless twist of circumstance, you arrive at the sanctum of my brethren at a critical moment.
We're in the sanctum of the Order, and the Inquisitor from earlier is actually here. You can find him. The Gatekeepers have the Dark Lens, and if they use it, they'll activate it to get out, inevitably causing a portal-driven apocalypse across the globe. The Inquisitor tells us we need to reach the Sun Disk IS that the Order have. It's pretty mysterious, but if you interact with it, it will make you more resistant to the frigid cold of the Residence's area of Gate Cascade. And so we'll have to fight our way through a heap of enemies to get out. It's a weird mix of enemies and lore down here, I guess. Firstly, there's a ton of regular Order grunts who by this point are super weak against us. They'll later sprinkle in some elites, but you shouldn't have any trouble getting deeper into this zone, especially compared to Shadowgate. It's a bit of a vacation area. It's quite nice actually, and some of the rat enemies here drop rare crafting materials from previous areas, so it's worth combing through and taking your time. The lore comes from when we reach their libraries, seeing their version of scientists, and realising the Order might as well be an alternate version of Gate. They're trying to keep artifacts locked down, and seem to have a better understanding of portal tech than ourselves. They also have holologs similar to Gate, and as we hear Clericus Artem talk about his study of the Sun Disk,
in accordance with directives, we pursue study of the Sun Disk from a distance. Yet, I confess that we approach the limits of our research, unless we are able to interrogate the device directly. After the fate of Clericus Monk, we are aware it transforms those who touch it.
The Sun Disk is theorised to be an artifact that prepares one for meeting its creators, that some eldritch beings from the stars exist in such extreme climates, it's the only way to do such. Carve your way through the libraries to find the next audio log where Artem tells us the Order is well aware of Gate, and they actually seem to be the good guys, at least from their perspective, the Order being the good guys, trying to protect the world from too much meddling. Any sympathy I had for them is lost after the amount of combat we do trying to cut our way to the Sun Disk. Touching it, the Inquisitor comes and opens a portal to the Residence's tram, asking us to attack it post-haste. Grabbing whatever we need, he'll join us to take out the Dark Lens. I took this time to grab Kylie's brain chip.
It's dangerous. Stuart never pretended it wasn't. But if you leave me here, my chances are 0.
And then use the Hydrobot to activate our vocalizer. Normally I'd do this in sequence, but I just forgot about it in this run. She's super useful, will give you encouragement when you level up, when you sleep. She'll tell you when the Layak's around, she gives you buffs for XP. She's probably one of the best trinket slot items.
Hey.
Residences is absolutely frozen due to a portal that's opened up to a hyper-chilled realm above it. When we enter, the Inquisitor pops in ready to help us for a grand battle, and he leads the charge.
Yeah, the sun disk protects you. Excellent. But you remain impeded from entry, and in this I can assist you. Retrieve the dark lens and put a stop to this calamity once and for...
Nice shot, Janet.
Unfortunately, Abe and Janet are hunkered down here and free us from our hostage situation. The cold has frozen most of the area around us, and we'll need to deal with it, or at least the ice sheets to advance. Mance & Co. had started some device in the athletics area which may help out. Kylie gives us a warning too.
I hear something.
The Krasow is a cold cousin of the Layak, but is seemingly unaffected by our current X-ray technology. If it stares at you too long, you'll freeze. This is a problem when you have to stare at it to make it go away. The gym is locked down by gate and requires a fair bit of combat to get inside, but when you do, you'll need a few different items to actually activate the cold machine. A Layak essence, a super alloy, and a corrupted CPU from one of the tier 4 robots. It's unclear what it does at first, but I will tell you. In the residences, part of residences, the whole thing is frosted over, and this makes the cold retreat to the upper floors slightly, meaning if we head there now, we can explore the topmost floor. Of course, that section is inundated by Sasquatches. They're a bit of a pain to take head on and are essentially reskinned Yetis, and they've got some fun interactions being able to reach into doorways. The peccaries and pests have also adapted here, growing fur. But the top level of apartments is blown open, and it lets us advance through a few of the apartments below to find things of note here. A recipe for a thermal power cell which we'll need to make a flamethrower with, an email thread showing how Stuart wanted to make Kylie into a personal shield, which we're not going to do as she specifically asks us, and the best little creature in this game, a little mouse.
Stuart was making me a body.
Hungry.
But I was just an experiment to him.
Fromage.
I am
Please
not
cheese.
a plaything. But I trust
No cheese.
Go back and make the flamethrower, and with it you can get rid of the ice sheets blocking off various areas, including one well hidden one to the executive suites. Inside you'll see how the other half live, lovely huge offices, artwork to steal, and huge suites reflecting their posts. Mance's room is the most revealing, as it shows that Khan is actually the shape-shifting IS we've let out. The thing is an enemy of humanity. He's been directing us all this time, and his plans for the Dark Lens are probably anything but good. Fuel is also in another suite searching for his cup of coffee still. It's time to finish this.
At the very least, it might heat up coffee.
Khan wants to blow the door into the shopping wing, and if you didn't think he was a lizard wearing human skin, you'll see he's not got any thermal protection on at all. Even the gatekeepers near him are frozen on the spot. We carve our way into the shopping district, and it seems this portal apocalypse has already started to make a roll. The place is floating in a giant void, comprised of fragments of other portal worlds we may have entered previously. It's one big maze/jumping puzzle as you go through the best hits of the game. The actual gate facility, Shadowgate, the Night Realm, even an arcade world that I've purposely not shown you in this video and should go find yourself. Check the labs for that one. The way to the Dark Lens is blocked off by gatekeeper shielding devices, and we'll need to craft 2 components to switch them off. This leads us to a side arena in Botany where you'll access amongst those fragments. Once you're in Botany, prepare for an actual trip as you hop between present and future to discover secrets of what might happen if we fail. The future sections show a ruined botany lab full of irradiated Exor, and instead of Mance on the holographs, we see Lenora Riggs. The labs have been blown and temporal disturbances persist, as you can see by taking your watch out. They're looking for something here in the future in the synaptic labs, which I believe would undo all this mess. Maybe even send a message to the past, I don't know. But we won't know until future content comes out, I don't think. We hop between future and present to navigate the botany lab, and there's a secret robotics room here where you could drop off Kylie's consciousness into a new robot body. This fulfills her request and completes her quest line, as it were. You do obviously lose Kylie by doing this, but it's worth doing. We're in the last act of the game. You'll eventually encounter the Sister of the Lost and her Mystagogue, and she acts like we're in a time loop here quite explicitly.
No origin, no end, but a loop in which we spin.
Perhaps the gatekeepers are trying to prevent an apocalypse over and over and just failing. Khan is likely unreliably narrating about them being the bad guys. Then we hop into a portal to seemingly their homeworld, contained within a purple shield, and it becomes clear that we've been here before, at least from their perspective. The CEO of Gate tells the Jotun to let us go, the force field's lowered, and we either see the result of the apocalypse or an alternate universe entirely. Either way, we find the recipe for the components we need, and for an expensive Doom Guy suit from the future, we're ready to actually put a pin in this finally, drop the shields and face off against buff versions of the Gatekeeper staff, then fill your inventory with healing items and as much ammo as possible. You're about to hit the final section of the game and there's no turning back. We pop out on a lone island, clearly nowhere near the gate facility as we were in the Australian outback. This is somewhere that Khan has directed us to. The Lost Gatekeeper squadron are here and they're posted up ready for combat. The sister essentially tells us this is it. We greet Kylie, who's also posted up, and we head to a chapel on a hill seeing Khan and Fuel. Fuel reveals the shapeshifter is indeed a shapeshifter and he's eerily smiley. Turns out this island is a nexus of force, even greater than Flathill, and on top of it is an ancient shrine. Because we touch the sun disk, we can trick it into thinking the stars have aligned.
I suppose you're actually going to listen to this creature. He's about as human as my shoe. Trust an eye, yes. We'd have to be in a dire situation indeed.
Despite it being clear this is a trap, we activate the shrine and with it start the final boss fight against the Wayfinder. This fight is long, like really long, and will drain most of your resources. There's arguably a high chance you could starve or fall asleep during this fight if it goes on too long. The creature needs to be shot at and its attacks avoided. When it's shielded, it will raise tentacles that need to be killed to lower said shields, though bullets seem to still go through, even with that up. It will constantly shoot pulses at you and occasionally a huge death laser. When it phase transitions, all of these attacks increase in severity, and it will summon a variety of Antiverse 2 creatures. To combat this, the NPCs will help you out. They shoot the mooks, and the Mystagog will pulse a big healing radius quite frequently. The creature eventually will go down, and with it, rifts spread across the sea, coalescing into a giant dark nexus. Turns out we're the ones to kickstart the apocalypse. Congrats, that's the end of the game. There's still a few things to do, several NPCs to talk to on the island. Khan, for instance, grins and thanks us. Seemingly some apocalyptic herald that hops to different worlds and does this as his day job. He's working for some dark god who thanks us.
My master sends you this message of approval.
In cabin dir, cabin dos.
It's a little hard to translate, but roughly it means, wherever in the universe you may find yourself, rejoice. For the only true home is the grave.
Kylie's happy we're still alive and is now scared for the future. The Mystagog hints at us eventually unwinding this apocalypse, and the witch tells us it's definitely the end of the world. Apparently this is a canon event in time, an unavoidable one. Rig states she's going to find a cozy antiverse to escape the apocalypse. We could go with her if we wanted. Janet is humming a song similar to the Lost Witch, which makes a lot of people think there's a time loop theory where she'll eventually become the witch. Abe's strangely not with her, having been muttering about submarines, and if you head to Hydro, you'll see the submarines gone. Perhaps in the future content we'll find out more about the time loop, or whether Abe is just gone for good. But for now, there's still plenty to mess around with. There's actually 5 antiverses to my knowledge that I intentionally left from this video, just for you the viewer to go and find, some much larger than others and some more challenging. For now, let's conclude. Abiotic Factor, as stated earlier, was my game of the year. I played it with 2 friends first, and then completed my own solo run and had a blast both times. The gameplay experience felt completely different, but still complete when comparing single player and multiplayer. You're a down-on-your-luck scientist who stumbles upon a lab studying portals, who's manipulated by a shapeshifter into bringing about a portal apocalypse. Throughout all this, you see 2 factions attack the facility, the Exor and the Order, and the ensuing chaos causes all sorts of containment breaches which you feel the brunt of. A lot of the fun of this game is discovering things for yourself, which even having seen this, I promise you there is a lot in there still for you. I gave a very bare bones description of the game. The base building and survival elements are exceptionally well done, and I'm not typically a fan of that style of game, but it genre bashes so much together: survival crafting, horror, FPS action. It makes a delicious cocktail that I had so much fun slurping down. Over and out, smooth brains.